Combs can be seen striking and kicking Ventura as she tried to leave.
When CNN dropped that raw footage we knew Diddy was finished, fam. It was a nail in the coffin for the music mogul. And now he's facing the music in court during the trial. Something wild went down. Cassie finally got to spill her truth. But it's clear Diddy's time in the joint didn't chill his crazy vibes word as he completely lost it. Let's get to her testimony. Cassie Ventura spills it all in court on May 13th. 2025 Cassandra Cassie Ventura stepped up to the plate in a Manhattan federal courtroom, laying it all bare against her ex Sean Diddy Combs in his blockbuster sex trafficking and racketeering trial. Cassie, a singer who came up under Diddy's Bad Boy Entertainment, was dropping bombs as the prosecution star witnessed breaking down a decade of straight-up physical, emotional, and sexual abuse that kicked off when she was young at 19. And he was holding it down at 37, had testimony straight fire, full of pain, real talk, and hood vibes that painted Diddy as a kingpin who ran her life like a trap house. Cassie kept it a buck, saying her vibe with Diddy started as a music biz hookup when she signed to his label, but it flipped quick into some controlling, toxic mess. She said Diddy was that dude, charismatic, but moving like a shot caller who had her whole life on lock, from what she wore to how she did her hair to who she could even chop it up with. Diddy was calling every shot. He had me feeling like I was caged, no cap. Cassie testified, her voice shaking like she was reliving the drama. She said Diddy would flex on her by snatching her stuff or blocking her bag if she didn't fall in line. That power trip prosecutors say it was a backbone of Diddy's alleged criminal hustle, manipulating and exploiting women like they were pawns in his game. The wildest part of Cass's testimony, she got real about these so-called free-course, drug-fueled, X-rated parties that Diddy allegedly set up and recorded like he was directing a flick. Cassie said Diddy would put her on the spot, telling her to get down with male escorts while he kicked back and watched camera rolling. These joints went down in Bowie hotels and Diddy's cribs in spots like LA, NYC, and Miami, often under fake names like Frank Black to keep it low-key. Cassie said these sessions, sometimes lasting 4 days, had a feeling straight up violated and like trash. I was shook to say no cause I knew he'd wild out. She said, holding back tears. She claimed Diddy kept her faded with drugs like ketamine and coke to make her go along with it, and those tapes allegedly used as leverage to keep her quiet. Prosecutors say these free-courts are the heart of the sex trafficking charges, with Diddy allegedly strong-arming women into doing his bidding. Cassie didn't hold back on the physical abuse either. She said Diddy would lay hands on her, leaving her with black eyes, bruises, and a busted lip. He'd smack me up, then act like it was all good. She said, spilling how he tried to smooth it over with gifts or fake apologies, only to do it again. The courtroom was shook when prosecutors played a 2016 hotel surveillance tape already leaked to the street, showing Diddy chasing Cassie down a hallway, tossing her to the floor and kicking her like she was nothing. That footage had folks in the room gasping, backing up her story 100. Cassie said that beat down wasn't a one-up, but part of a pattern that had her living in fear like she was dodging landmines daily. While Cassie was pouring her heart out, Diddy was posted up at the defense table looking unfazed in a tan suit, scribbling notes like he was just chilling. His legal squads pushing that his innocent, claiming Cassie and others are spinning tales for cloud, or check Diddy's plea not guilty to the racketeering, sex trafficking, and prostitution charges. And his team ain't cross-examined Cassie yet, but word is they're going to try to poke holes in her story. The feds are building a case that Diddy was running a whole operation using his money, clout, and industry connects to keep victims on hush and dodge. A lot more witnesses, including other women with similar stories, are expected to hit the stand soon. Cass's case all but sealed the deal, but her testimony isn't the only damning one so far. Other key witness testimonies: Daniel Phillip, a 41-year-old male escort and stripper, testified that Cassie hired him to get down with her. While Diddy watched Phillip's testimony on day one of the trial, had the courtroom shook with the details of his interactions with Diddy and Ventura. Phillip said his involvement with Ventura and Diddy started back in 2012 when he got hired to strip at what he thought was a bachelorette party at the Gramercy Park Hotel in Manhattan. But according to him, the gig quickly turned into paid sexual encounters with Ventura, with Diddy always in the cut. According to Phillip, he got paid between $700 and $6,000 per session, with some sessions lasting up to 10 hours. He said Ventura handled the payments, but Diddy was always usually watching from a corner and allegedly handling his business. Phillip described Diddy giving specific instructions on how he should get down with Ventura during these encounters, which were sometimes recorded by Diddy on his phone or camcorder. Phillip testified about One particularly wild incident where Diddy allegedly told him to do something that made Ventura choke, which Philip said was messed up. This testimony backs up what the prosecution's been saying, that Diddy orchestrated and controlled these sexual encounters, sometimes in ways that could hurt people. One of the most disturbing parts of Philip's testimony was when he described seeing Diddy put hands on Ventura multiple times. In one incident, he claims he saw Diddy throw a bottle at Ventura, grab her by the hair, and drag her into a bedroom when she didn't come when he called her. Another time, Philip described Diddy allegedly dragging Ventura by her hair into a bedroom while she was screaming, with Philip hearing slaps and Ventura saying sorry. According to his testimony, Ventura then ran out of the room with no clothes on and jumped into Philip's lap, shaking like crazy. Philip admitted he didn't step in or call the cops about these incidents because he was scared for his life, describing Diddy as someone with unlimited power. He also mentioned that Diddy had snapped a pic of his driver's license, which he took as a threat. This fits with the prosecution's portrayal of Diddy as someone who used intimidation and fear to keep people in check. According to Philip, he asked Ventura why she was still with Diddy despite the abuse, warning her about how dangerous it was to stay with him. Ventura reportedly didn't give a clear answer. Philip also claimed he would have done the encounters with Ventura for free, suggesting he had feelings for her, which the defense later used to try to make him look bad. On May 13, 2025, Diddy's defense attorney Xavier Donaldson went hard at Philip during cross-examination, trying to make him look like a hater who was jealous of Diddy and had the hots for Ventura, wanting to shoot his shot with her. The defense also tried to catch him slipping on inconsistencies in his previous statements, but Philip clapped back by correcting Donaldson multiple times when incorrect info was presented. Diddy's legal squad portrayed Philip as a witness who couldn't be trusted, emphasizing that their client interactions with Ventura were consensual and not trafficking. This approach fits with the defense's overall strategy of painting the alleged free calls as consensual activities rather than forced or exploitative situations. Philip's testimony was so explicit that it had Diddy's daughters leaving the courtroom during a particularly graphic part. The whole testimony was noted for being intense, with jurors having been pre-screened to make sure they could handle this kind of content. While Philip's testimony painted a disturbing picture of alleged abuse and coercion, the defense's cross-examination tried to cast doubt on his credibility and motives. This back and forth shows how heated this trial is and the challenges the prosecution faces in proving their case beyond a reasonable doubt. Before Phillips, the first witness to take the stand was Israel Flores, and lapped officer.
This video, which CNN leaked back in May 2024, is a major piece of the puzzle for the prosecution,
who used to work security at the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles. Flores testified on May 12, 2025 about a 2016 incident where Diddy was caught on camera putting hands on his girlfriend Cassie. Ventura Flores broke down what went down on March 5, 2016, when he responded to drama at the Intercontinental Hotel. The jury got to see the surveillance footage that showed Diddy wild out on Ventura in the hotel hallway, beating her, kicking her, and dragging her back to their room. This video, which CNN leaked back in May 2024, is a major piece of the puzzle for prosecution, showing Diddy allegedly using violence to keep people in check. During his testimony, Flores pointed out that Ventura had a purple eye after the incident, showing she got roughed up for real. When Diddy's lawyer Brian Steele cross-examined him, he tried to poke holes in Flores' story, highlighting that the purple-eye detail wasn't in the original 2016 report. This is all part of the defense's strategy to make witnesses look like they're capping. One of the most explosive parts of Flores' testimony was claiming that Diddy tried to slide him some hush money to keep quiet about what went down. Flores said Diddy or his people approached him with cash to make sure he didn't report the assault or talk about it. This fits with what the prosecution's been saying, that Diddy used his bread and influence to cover up his behavior, including allegedly dropping $100,000 to hotel staff for what he thought was the only copy of the security tape. The prosecution is using Flores' testimony to establish that Diddy has a history of violating people, especially when it comes to Ventura, who's being called victim one. And in the paperwork, legal analyst Misty Maris pointed out that showing the 2016 video early was a smart move because it backs up the prosecution's claim that Diddy used force. fraud and coercion to control people, and his alleged criminal activities, including the so-called free course. Other expected witnesses include a woman called Nia, a former employee of Diddy, who's expected to testify that Diddy forced himself on her sexually multiple times. Another male escort is also expected to testify about being part of a freak-off and seeing Diddy rough up Ventura during the event. These additional witnesses would potentially back up Philip's testimony and add to the evidence of alleged violence and coercion. However, the participation of victim 3 is up in the air because they are having trouble reaching her lawyer. This has created mad tension in the trial, with Diddy's defense asking for a mistrial or delay, arguing that the uncertainty messes with their preparation. The defense claims that not knowing whether victim 3 will testify makes it harder for them to counter the prosecution's story. On the flip side, the defense is saying these were consensual lavish parties that reflected Diddy's celebrity lifestyle and that accusers are just trying to get paid, especially through civil lawsuits. In their opening statements, Diddy's attorneys argued that the encounters described by witnesses like Philip were consensual and involved capable, strong adult women in voluntary relationships. They admitted Diddy had been violent, but denied the allegations of sex trafficking or racketeering. The trial, expected to last 8 weeks, has drawn major attention due to Diddy's status as a music mogul and the graphic nature of the allegation. The judge has imposed restrictions on Diddy's communication from jail, citing concerns about witness tampering, which shows just how intense this case is. Despite the damning consequences, Diddy's defense is putting a strong case, make the public anxious about Diddy beating the charges. Will Diddy get away with it? The federal prosecutors, led by Assistant U.S. Attorney Emily Johnson, are building their case on the claim that Diddy was a head of a criminal organization that forced women into sexual situations for decades. That 2016 video showing Diddy putting hands on Ventura is a key piece of evidence they're using to show Diddy's pattern of abuse. The prosecution's whole approach is to paint a complete picture of a man who allegedly used his fame, connects, and money to exploit and control women. Central to their case are the allegations about these free-course, supposedly drug-fueled sexual encounters that Diddy is accused of orchestrating. These events, as described by witnesses like Daniel Phillip, allegedly involved hired escorts, drugs like Special K and X, and was sometimes recorded. The prosecution's trying to prove these weren't consensual activities, but part of a systematic pattern of exploitation and coercion. The prosecution also emphasizes how Diddy allegedly used intimidation and fear to keep victims and witnesses in check. Testimony from witnesses like Phillip, who claimed he feared for his life and described Diddy as having unlimited power, supports this narrative, plus the allegation that Diddy dropped $100,000 to hotel staff to hide the 2016 surveillance footage fits with the prosecution's portrayal of a man willing to use his resources to cover up abusive behavior. On the other side, the defense team, including attorneys Tenny Garagos, Brian Steele, and Xavier Donaldson, is working to make the prosecution's witnesses look unreliable and offering different explanations for what allegedly went down. Their strategy has several key parts. First, the defense acknowledges that there was domestic violence like the 2016 incident, but argues these were personal relationship issues that have nothing to do with the charges of racketeering, sex trafficking, or prostitution. They are framing the case as the government overstepping into Diddy's private life, emphasizing what they describe as consensual relationships. Second, the defense is trying to make witnesses like Flores and Phillip look like they can't be trusted. During cross-examination, they highlight inconsistencies in testimony, such as details not included in Flores' original 2016 incident report with Phillip. They suggest he might have reasons to lie, including being jealous of Diddy and having feelings for Ventura. Third, the defense portrays the alleged free course as consensual activities involving willing adult participants. They argue these were just lavish parties reflecting Diddy's celebrity lifestyle rather than forced events. In their view, accusers are just trying to secure the bag, especially through civil lawsuits. The legal battle also extends to procedural matters. The defense had asked for a 2-month delay in the trial, saying they needed more time to prepare given the massive amount of evidence described as a terabyte of information by criminal defense attorney Sean Kent, who knows defense attorney Brian Steele, but isn't involved in the case. Judge Arun Subramanian shut this request down, saying it was too close to the trial date, the judge emphasized that with 4 attorneys, Diddy's legal team should be able to get it together for the trial. This rejection puts extra pressure on the defense team to organize their strategy quickly. The judge has also made several key rulings that will shape how this trial goes down. Regarding evidence, the judge has denied Diddy's motion to exclude evidence related to victim 5 but granted it for other potential evidence. This suggests there might be significant past incidents involving victim 5 that the court thinks are relevant to the current charges. Another crucial ruling concerns keeping witnesses anonymous. The judge has allowed victim 2, victim 3, and victim 4 to use pseudonyms, while victim 1 and presumed to be Cassie Ventura will testify using her real name. This creates logistical challenges, as the court has to make sure these witnesses' identities stay protected during a public trial with media presence. The judge has also ordered certain materials to be handed over that could be significant for the defense. These include earlier draft of a memoir related to victim 1 and behind-the-scenes footage from a Warner Brothers documentary called The Downfall of Diddy, featuring a previous chef of Diddy and a previous romantic partner. The defense could potentially use these materials to challenge how consistent and credible witness accounts are. As criminal defense attorney Shaw Ken explains, these rulings reflect what's known as the rule of completeness, which ensures if parts of documents or recordings are presented as evidence, the full context must be available to the opposing side.
Appeared wearing like sort of light tan prison attire, and he was wearing slip-on shoes. He looked fairly relaxed, if a bit solemn.
Both sides are facing major challenges as the trial moves forward for the prosecution. Proving a pattern of criminal behavior spanning 2 decades is no small feat. They need to establish not just that Diddy was whining out, but that his actions were part of a criminal enterprise involving racketeering and sex trafficking. The reported difficulty in reaching victim 3 highlights another challenge: keeping witnesses cooperative throughout a lengthy and high-profile trial. For the defense, the sheer volume of evidence and number of accusers present a serious obstacle, with over 60 lawsuits alleging sexual assault and exploitation, and attorney Tony Busby claiming to represent 120 accusers. The defense has to address multiple allegations spanning decades. A denial of their request for a trial delay makes this even harder, forcing them to prepare rapidly for cross-examination of numerous witnesses. The existence of physical evidence, particularly the 2016 surveillance video showing Diddy assaulting Ventura, is another major hurdle for the defense. While they acknowledge the incident happened, they need to convince the jury that it represents a personal relationship issue rather than evidence of a pattern of coercive behavior related to the criminal charges. A vibe in the courtroom reflects how high the stakes are. In this case, according to BBC senior producer Praditya Gilio, who was in court, Diddy showed up wearing light tan prison attire and slip-on shoes, looking fairly relaxed. If a bit solemn, she noticed that he has grayed substantially over the past few months and seems to have lost weight. Diddy's mom and one of his sons were there for support. Gilio saw Diddy turning back to look at his people during proceedings and noted that when he entered the courtroom, he hugged each and every one of his lawyers before he sat down, and he engaged with them.
One thing that struck me was also that when he entered the courtroom, he hugged each and every one of his lawyers before he sat down, and he engaged with them.
The courtroom was described as pretty packed for a pre-trial hearing with a mix of journalists, members of the public, and Diddy supporters, including one rocking a free puff sweatshirt. The federal court has tight security with only paper and pen allowed inside and no electronic devices permitted for journalists. This case has serious implications beyond the courtroom for the music industry. It represents a potential day of reckoning with issues of power exploitation and abuse. The allegations against Diddy span almost his entire career, raising questions about whether the industry enabled or looked the other way when it came to problematic behavior. An interesting layer of this case is how it connects to other high-profile situations in the entertainment world. The Diddy trial has links to other drama, including a lawsuit filed by Tony Busby against former NFL star Shannon Sharp, who previously had comedian Cat Williams on his podcast, where Williams aired out his thoughts about Diddy is now facing heat from the same lawyer who's coming at Diddy with multiple cases. Sharp has straight up denied the allegations against him, calling the lawsuit a blatant criminal attempt to shake down Mr. Sharp for millions. This parallel situation shows the complex web of allegations, counter-allegations, and legal moves surrounding big names in the entertainment industry. The prosecution, meanwhile, is aiming to present Ventura's testimony as the emotional and evidentiary centerpiece of their case. A first-hand account combined with the surveillance footage could strongly back up the allegations of abuse and coercion. The challenge for prosecution will be dealing with the defense's portrayal of her as a willing participant, making her cross-examination a make-or-break act moment in the trial. As the trial unfolds, it's important to consider the bigger picture of the legal heat Diddy is facing. Over 60 lawsuits claim sexual assault and exploitation, with accusers including men, women, and minors. Attorney Tony Busby is repping 120 clients, with more cases expected. The sheer number of allegations suggests a pattern of behavior that, if proven, would be one of the most significant cases of systematic abuse by a celebrity in recent memory. The prosecution's case hinges on proving that Diddy ran a criminal enterprise for over 2 decades, using his cash influence and a network of associates to force women into sexual acts, often through violence and drugs. This is a high bar to clear, requiring solid evidence and credible witness testimony to establish beyond a reasonable doubt. Diddy's defense squad, meanwhile, faces the insane task of addressing multiple allegations spanning decades. Their strategy appears to be attacking the credibility of individual witnesses while maintaining that any sexual encounters were consensual and any violence was just between him and his partners rather than connected to a criminal enterprise. A legal battle is happening with mad public interest and media coverage. A trial held at the Daniel Patrick Moynihan U.S. Courthouse in New York City has attracted serious media attention, with journalists and members of the public packing the courtroom. This level of attention adds another layer of complexity to the proceedings, as both legal teams have to navigate not only the courtroom dynamics but also public opinion. The implications of this case go way beyond Diddy himself. For the music industry, it represents a potential moment of truth, forcing a conversation about power dynamics, exploitation, and the treatment of young artists, especially women. The allegations spanning decades raise questions about what was known, what was ignored, and what might be changing in terms of accountability and oversight. As BBC World Service YouTube channel host Anushka Metandati noted, the speed at which this case has moved toward trial has been surprising.
Hello and welcome back to Diddy on Trial from the BBC World Service YouTube channel with me, Anushka Metandati. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss a thing. How many times have we said during the prep and the build-up to this trial that it all felt a little speedy?
This rapid pace shows how serious the charges are and the court's determination to keep things moving for Diddy, who initially pushed for a speedy trial but later asked for a delay. This pace creates major challenges for his defense team. As the trial continues, more witnesses will take the stand, more evidence will be presented, and the competing narratives of prosecution and defense will continue to unfold. The outcome is still up in the air, but one thing's for sure: this case has already had a deep impact on how people view power, accountability, and justice in the entertainment industry. The Sean Diddy Combs trial is bigger than just the legal proceedings against one individual. It represents broader questions about power, exploitation, accountability, and the pursuit of justice. As we continue to follow this case, we're watching not only the specific allegations against Diddy, but also a reckoning with systemic issues that have been part of the entertainment industry and beyond for too long. Thanks for staying tuned. Check out more boxes on the screen. Diddy's world is falling apart, and it's all playing out in real time. First, a judge shut down his $50 million bail offer, keeping him locked up until trial. But now things have taken a wild turn, with new rumors suggesting that Diddy's threatening the judge stay locked in. Because we're about to break it all down. Diddy's bail denied. Man, things just keep spiraling for Diddy, and it's looking worse by the day. His bail hasn't just been denied once, it's been shut down twice, and now there's talk that he might have even threatened the judge. Whether that's true or not, nobody knows for sure, but with everything going down, nothing seems off the table. You think with $50 million on the table, he'd walk out of that courtroom no problem, but even that kind of cash can't change the fact that he's facing some serious charges. A whole bail drama kicked off on Tuesday the 17th when Diddy rolled into court after his arrest. He stood before U.S. Magistrate Judge Robin Tarnowski, pleading not guilty to some heavy charges: racketeering, sex trafficking, and transportation for prostitution. Diddy's legal team tried to pull all the stops, requesting home detention with GPS monitoring on a $50 million bond. This bond was secured by his $48 million Miami mansion and his mom's house nearby, and to show he wasn't playing Diddy, his mom and even his daughters all handed over their passports to his legal counsel. His lawyers made it clear Sean Combs has never evaded, avoided, eluded, or run from a challenge in his life. And to back it up, Mark Agnall, Diddy's lawyer, told the press that Diddy willingly flew to New York to face the charges head-on. Mr. Combs came to New York on September 5th soon as we realized that this indictment was going to be coming down in a matter of weeks, maybe months. But sometime sooner, Mr. Holmes got on a plane, left his home in Florida, flew to New York. But no matter how much Diddy and his squad put on the table, Judge Tanowski wasn't having it. She shut it down, saying Diddy was too much of a flight risk, and on top of that might mess with witnesses. The court wasn't about to take any chances with charges as serious, and to back that up, prosecutors came with the receipts. They claimed that in the months leading up to his arrest, Diddy had been reaching out to victims and witnesses, trying to get them on his side and push his version of the story. That move alone raised some serious red flags. Still, Diddy's team wasn't about to let it slide. They bounced back with an appeal, but this time they were in front of a different judge, U.S. District Judge Andrew L. Carter. They sweetened the deal. Diddy agreed to weekly drug tests to restrict visitors to just family and caretakers, and to keep a log of every person stepping foot into his Miami mansion. On top of that, no female visitors allowed except for family. It was a bold move, showing just how desperate Diddy was to get out, but it wasn't enough. Judge Carter wasn't sold. Even with all these conditions, the court still ruled that Diddy was too dangerous to release his history of violence, and his anger issues were a big part of why the judge couldn't take the risk with his appeal getting shut down. Diddy was sent straight to the Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, in Brooklyn, a place that's known for being straight up hell on earth, and that's not an exaggeration. This facility has been described as an ongoing tragedy, a place that's infamous with brutal conditions. The MDC is no joke. It's like the worst of the worst. Inmates have been complaining for years about how wild things are in there. We're talking out of control violence and conditions that are straight up inhumane. The place is seriously understaffed, and that just makes everything even messier. On top of that, there's contraband everywhere, drugs, phones, you name it, and sometimes it's the employees helping to sneak stuff in. And if that's not bad enough, the lockdowns are constant. Prisoners can go days locked in their cells, no calls, no visits, no showers, no fresh air. For Diddy, used to living in mansions and private jets, this is a whole different kind of reality, a far cry from a life he's used to. But how did we even get here? Let's rewind to September 16th, the day Diddy got taken. And what's wild is that Diddy knew the charges were hanging over his head, but he clearly didn't expect the feds to come for him that day. Just hours before his arrest, Diddy was out in Central Park acting like it was just another regular day. Fast forward a few hours, and Diddy was seen again, this time with his son Christian Combs, still moving like he had no care in the world, completely relaxed as if he was untouchable. Just 30 minutes before the arrest, Diddy was still chilling with a group of friends, probably cracking jokes, completely unaware that the feds were closing in on him. What started off as a sunny day full of smiles ended with Diddy in handcuffs, facing one of the most serious indictments of a career. And trust me, the details of that indictment is straight up wild.